I don't believe trade is the main driver of that, but I'll grant that it does happen sometimes.
Who cares about bringing in money? Okay, the whole idea of running like a business.
I don't really think it's something that you should take. I don't know.
The argument against charging people rent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, typically the philosophical argument against
That's a legitimate criticism. Because, I mean, you look at why USA was even invented.
So, I don't know. Like, I think a recurring theme or a recurring trend is that
less and less government. I want personal responsibility. I want personal accountability.
say that I'm like left of liberal. I don't identify as like a communist or alternative stuff. Probably like a why would that be revelatory to know that water boils in?
About people who are diplomats or ambassadors from other.
Did I say that? Did I say that it was theoretically possible to include like it increase?
Natural society is a society where it's survival of.
You can. What you're describing, you can't do. Is, first of all, not what I'm talking about. Second of all, we can't.
So basically, like, even your Lord and Savior Donald Trump didn't do the best job.
That nature, you refer to it as being conscious, or the conscious community.
So I think that gay marriage at the Constitution at the Supreme Court level actually.
No, but my man is in the building.
And I find it very interesting that fellow believers are.
Sure, there are examples, but these are minor examples compared to the ones that I'm giving. I'm putting down two.
It's unconstitutional, they shouldn't do it. But now they're arguing about, well, if they do it.
This video's a little blonde hair.
Yeah, that's what your mom said last night too.
Let's ignore USAID. That's obviously upsetting you, and I get that because
no, it's not upsetting me.
There's a reason I'm successful. There's a reason why I'm liked.
This is exactly why Democrats.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Mater Nation. I am Sarah the Raging Tomato, bringing to you live another Throwdown Thursday. What that means is my new friend Shaman Omar here is going to give out his claim, lay it out thick for about an hour, and then, of course, we're going to open the panel. So anyone that agrees, disagrees, wants to say something stupid can come on, join us, and have a good time. Shaman Omar, you are here to make the claim that Zionism is a satanic, anti-religious death cult. I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell them everything about you and your claim and what you got going on.
Sounds like you're an anti-Semite. The conversation's over. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You got your clip now. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little, the title is very aggressive for sure. But I can take each one of those points and describe the thought process behind that just with pure etymology for anyone who's viewing and doesn't know what that means. It's why words mean something, compounding. Yeah, my name's Shaman Omar. I'm a mystic, a shaman, an author, a poet, speaker, a director of an organization. I've been an ayahuasca for over 12 years, child of the earth, and a friend to not only the Jews, but a friend to the Christians and a friend to the Muslims. All three are invited to eat with me at the dinner table of truth.
Did I? Now, you're even just starting off with friend, right? But with a claim that you're making, that's a big one, right? Because when we say friend and then Zionism, let's define Zionism. How do you define it?
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm a friend to Zionism. I'm definitely not. I'm not. Now, here's the tricky part of it all. If someone says Zionism, right? Even my closest friends, like who talk about Zionism, they say, Omar, don't you know that Zionism just means it's the right for the Jewish people to have their own home? And it's like, well, yeah. So let's clarify. No, I'm not against the Jewish people having their own home. Okay, the Jewish people are in the land of Israel, so it's like, okay, that's their home, right? That's the covenant with the land, the people with the covenant and the land and the book. The book being the 5 books of Moses, right? This is the covenant of Abraham. This is the Genesis 12:3, the precursor that goes into Jacob becoming Israel, which is where we're at today with that claim. But the idea of the nation state, the Jewish people's having their own homeland. That's any way you word it in any language. That is simply just a single sentence. My question is, for the author of Zionism, Theodor Herzl, what about the other 1,100 sentences in his book? How about that? So that's my point. My point is that Zionism is an ideology. I never made a claim about Judaism or Christianity or Islam. My claim is about Zionism, the ideology. Now, of course, they say, what do you mean ideology? And we'll explain that. But the point is that I think there's like 1,200 sentences in a 100-page book. So yes, granted, the Zionism, as it states, for the Jewish people to have their own homeland. Okay, great. That's a sentence. What about the other 1,100 sentences in that book, which I will argue tonight that is filled with anti-Judaism, anti-religious, anti-God, and the application of the ideology that was created by Theodor Herzl, fast forwarding from 1897 to the modern day of 2026, will move forward into why I made the other claims. Like, for example, I can just overview it real quick.
Go for it.
If you say, what was the claim? Zionism is a anti-religious. So the founder, Theodor Herzl, was born Jewish, according to the way Jews would determine, meaning that his mother was Jewish. But in his book that he wrote in 1897, and his diary that was translated into English and released in 1960, which was 1,000 pages, about as deep as you can get of anti-religious, anti-Torah, anti-God manipulation you can imagine. In that he would specifically claim everything that I'm claiming tonight, he actually justifies. So all I have to do, if we're going to make a statement about the United States, I would point to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, right? That's a good place to go. We're going to talk about Zionism. Why don't we talk about the George Washington of Zionism? And of course, some people may say that Zionism originates in the Torah. I'd love to hear that argued. But as far as satanic, the word satanic, Satan or shaitan means adversary. So the adversary would be adversary of what? Let's say good. Adversary of the law of God from Moses, right? You could say adversary of righteousness. You could say adversary of the truth. In essence, the concept of Satan is an adversary of something. In this case, is always relating to God. And by the way, tonight we'll be using, the Old Testament, the New Testament in its literal form. I'm not saying that I necessarily subscribe to any of these exact messages from the perspective of if I'm referring to a Messiah or Jesus. That doesn't mean that I believe in a savior or I believe Jesus was a savior or any of these things. We're having a debate on the subject of an ideology known as Zionism, and we're going to refer to the books in sequential order that are used to justify this claim.
Okay. Now let's start from the beginning, because you said that the ideology is anti-God, right? But let's start in the beginning. This Theodor Herzl says it's all like there's one sentence that says this, but there's 1,100 other sentences that say otherwise. And I want to break that down. What the one sentence is that is Israel that they can have their own home. But what does everything else say?
So that claim right there, granted. Granted, I agree. Perfect. So anyone who wants to come say, oh, but great, we agree. So let's talk about everything else that has to do with Zionism. You're saying, what does he say?
Well, what's the other 1,100, right? So you're saying one sentence says they should be able to have their own home, which is Israel.
Oh, man.
But is everything else like contradictory to that? Is it different? Does it say otherwise? Are there pieces in play?
I've got notes in my thing, but Theodor Herzl basically is a very anti-God, anti-Jewish person. I believe they say he converted to Christianity. I don't see any proof that he did anything that made him believe in the God of Abraham in any way. He was a devout atheist as far as everything that I've ever looked into, and I'd love to hear something other than that. But until then, we'll be, shitting on this guy pretty well for the rest of the night. He made crazy claims. He was describing the future homeland of the Jewish people that would be not a theocracy. In fact, he was saying, shall the land be a theocracy? Indeed not. He was describing that the priests would be confined to their temples in the same way that armies would be confined to their barracks. And in the modern state, when the Jewish people have their own homeland, it would be considered rude and indecent to bring up religion in the land. So he's basically describing that in this new land, it would be, instead of a homeland for the Jewish people that unite on their covenant with God, which the covenant is an important part, because people would say, like, these, your Ted Cruz's and your evangelical Zionist Christians would claim that the covenant is eternal and so on. It's like, yeah, sure, in one point, but it was conditional. Deuteronomy, it specifically states that it was conditional. So it doesn't really, if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, then it's not, sorry?
What is it conditional to?
Well, I mean, what is the land, like the giving of the land to the people?
You said it was conditional. So what is it? Yes, you're getting this. I guess that's what you're referring to, right? Having Israel, but it's conditional to something.
Yeah, in Deuteronomy, I believe it's Deuteronomy 28, it says that the land is conditional to keeping God's covenant. Several places all over the Torah and the Tanakh, it specifically describes that it is a people for a land based around the law, and the laws being the 3 of the 5 books of Moses. So it's an eternal, and the Christians would disagree with what I'm about to say. They would say, no, it's not, because when Jesus came, now it's his. That's fast forwarding. The entire premise is that the covenant between these people, these Israelite, or as you would say, they would become Israelite, these Hebrew people, and God are based around following the laws of Moses, where they say the laws of God as described in the books. And so if you don't keep those covenants, there are laws of penalties in that. So if you're taking this stuff literal, and I'm not saying that I'm necessarily agree with what I'm about to say, but there are laws that are very well spelled out for people who don't keep these covenants. If someone doesn't keep the Sabbath, they're supposed to get stoned to death. If someone's practicing gay stuff, they're supposed to get stoned to death. If someone doesn't believe in God, they're supposed to get stoned to death. Like, the solution for someone who's supposed to be in the covenant is death, if not, and then they're not considered from like the old perspective still that. But the ideology of Zionism moves it from a covenant with a people and God through a book as declared in these 5 books, and moves it toward this national identity, a secular identity, which makes it an ideology.
So you're saying they're not keeping that condition, though? Is that what your claim is?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not making any blanket statements about Jewish people. I'm specifically saying that the people who subscribe to the modern ideology of Zionism are clearly not. For example, from an Abrahamic perspective, if you had a nation of pious people, right, that are religious, like, let's say, take the most Christian people and put them in Bethlehem or Jerusalem, and the most like pious Jews, and put them here, the conversation's over. The conversation's over. But what we see in the world is a corruption and using religious as this. So if you look at ideologies, I'll make a blanket statement. If you look at the ideology of Zionism, how it's applied to Christianity, or if you look at Zionism, how it's applied to Judaism, or if you look at Wahhabism, how it's applied to Islam, in my perspective, these are corruptions that are used to create a narrative to implement what we're watching today. The concept, for example, of jihad, as far as Islam is concerned, take a little bit of heat off the Jews for a second. Let's go to the Muslims. Jihad is an internal struggle, similar to a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. When the child becomes a man or a little girl becomes a woman, there is an age, right? Let's say 13 years old is what they say. Well, similarly, there is something that applies in Islam, which is the jihad. Now, when you say the word jihad, what do you think of today?
Uh,
And right? Right?
I
What
didn't
is
want to do
jihad?
it, but
Right?
okay. Yes.
Isn't it funny how you can just do that and that's not racist, but you can't say, but if I were to go like this, then that's right? It's crazy. You should blanket everything. It's America freedom of speech. And again, I literally have absolutely no ill will to any Christians, Muslims, or Jews in any way whatsoever. So that's so we have to move on later to different ad homs on that. But jihad is an internal struggle. It means that it is the day that a man or a woman declares a war against their own inner darkness, like against their ignorance, against their fear, against temptation, against like the sins, right? It's not something you declare outward. A jihad has nothing to do with the outer world. But later, around the same time, very similar time period to when Zionism was first created by Herzl, there was an ideology, an interpretation of Islam known as Wahhabism that was created in Saudi Arabia. Did it really jumpstart later? It kind of jump-started I would say probably in the mid-1950s. It certainly started to take power after the British took control of the Holy Land. And so it became this more radicalized ideological imprint on top of Islam, similar to the Schofield Bible, which was new interpretations of reading the Bible as per the Zionist lens, just like the Bible was taken out of being Judaism in the Zionist reality, the modern Zionist reality. Okay. And so that's what happened. You have a lens that you're like, okay, Wahhabi lens, here you go, let's look. Then you have a Zionist lens, here's your Schofield Bible. And they say, you're Jewish, you don't need this book. That's how these ideologies have infiltrated these religions of Abraham and created the world in which we see today. I don't see a difference very much with the way that Islamic republics are reacting and suppressing and doing all these things, and the nation state of Israel and the Zionist Christians in America are the ones funding it and fueling it.
So you mentioned the corruptions then. Let's go down that rabbit hole of corruptions. What do you mean by that?
Corruptions. Well, to spell something out, let's say there's 16 million Jewish people in the world, right? There's 8 million. There's 8 million in Israel, 7 million in the United States, and a few million in the rest of the world, right? Okay. In America, we have around 330 million people, right? We have 56 plus million Christian Zionists in America. So everyone today today we're in a world where they're like, let's blame the Jews, right? It's easy. Oh, let's just blame the Jews, right? I'm saying two parts. No, let's not blame the Jews. As a matter of fact, here, I'll give you what we should blame. And that's actually from Exodus, right? I would say blame evil. So when we say Satanism, we would say evil, or we would say against God. God and goodness. So that will diversify the Buddhist perspective or the Zoroastrian perspective of God, right? Goodness, the creator of the soul, right? The creator of eternal life, right? That which you would return to on your final day and live eternally, etc. The same places where your winged angels would return to, the creator of that, right? Let's call that goodness. Okay, so that's where everyone's trying to go. But when you have evil, you make everything more dense in this reality. And the denser things are in this reality, the more we can feel the friction. The more friction, then we stop acting like humans and we act more like animals, like man. The animal of man and humanity. Two very different things.
So, well, I mean, can you, like, I look at it this way. I have two options. I could do good or I could do bad, right?
Yes.
Now, bad is knocking at everybody's door all day, every day. And you have the integrity of doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. So even though you're saying evil is to blame, but we choose evil or good.
Absolutely, free will. That's the whole point. If we're saying that, like, for example, and the last claim was the death cult thing. I forgot death cult. That was another claim. Yeah, death cult. That's absolutely, that'd be a hard one to argue against. The entire eschatology of the expressions of these three faiths are all leading to Armageddon. So what's Armageddon? Armageddon is the end of the world where either half or everyone dies.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to take one of these monotheistic religions, any of them, and we were to go into the goodness and the parts that make us and give us a moral fabric for us all to exist upon and within, do unto others as you would do unto yourself, help the poor, he who is not guilty cast the first stone, except all these beautiful things, right, that transcend time and space and can appeal to a certain morality within our soul that we can all feel regardless of language, right? Those are good.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you use these religions and go to that, then we would have a better society. But if you have a religion or religious ideology that's pointing you towards this final war that we all need to do whatever we can to get to this point, so that way something else happens and then something else happens, that eschatology itself is a death cult. It is by itself leading to a death cult. You have Christians and Muslims that believe in an antichrist that comes, right? The Muslims believe the name of the antichrist is the Dajjal, and the Christians say it's the antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
The Jews are still waiting for the Messiah. Here's the difference. Here's the difference between these three religions, okay? God's covenant, Abraham, Genesis 12:3, right? And I bless you, and those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. And your name is no longer Abraham. It's now, and no, your name is no longer Avram. Now it's Abraham, which means father of nations. And you will be the leader, the patriarch of nations to come, great nations, right? And so that's how his name became Abraham. And that's in Genesis 12:3. Well, the Schofield Bible of Ted Cruz and these evangelical Christians, which I believe they're sincere in what they believe. The problem is they're brainwashed. They're under a spell, right? Is that when Ted Cruz says, oh man, God said, if you bless the Israel, then you're going to be blessed. And if you curse Israel, you're going to be cursed. And so I'm going to do everything I can to get the blessings of God, right? He's taking Genesis 12:3 and he's applying it to Israel, of which now he's referring to the nation state of Israel today. But in Genesis 12:3, that's El Shaddai, the name of God to Abraham, speaking to Abraham about the future. The word Israel is the name bestowed upon Jacob after he wrestles with the angel later.
Right.
Jacob is the grandson of Abraham. Abraham doesn't have any kids when this is being said to him. He has no kids. So you understand the time difference here? So you're just basically saying, oh, this is a blessing to the land of Israel. But what Israel and what person is? There is no Israel. That hadn't happened yet. So you take that,
Right.
superimpose it over Genesis 12:3, read it your whole life and try to be a good person. And now you believe, hey, as a Christian, it's my job to support everything that they want to do because they're the ones that are going to usher it in. And this eschatology, for anyone who's not aware, eschatology is, I want to say necessarily, well, let's just call it the study of the end of days. Let's just say, because if we review it, it's good to review it in all three contexts. It's good to understand what the Jews think, what the Christians think, what the Muslims think about these end of days, which I think is a stupid plan to get moving to. A Jew is someone who accepts the 5 books of Moses, right? Who, well, a Jew is really 2 tribes of Judea. Let's just say the land of Israel and the people, the Israelites, which were the descendants of Jacob, who were Hebrews, right? This is this covenant we're talking about. There were 12 tribes, et cetera, right? Of which the Jews are a part of. And so the covenant is these people with this book, right? This covenant with God. This book, these 5 books, God, land, people, covenant, right? And that's the covenant that they're talking about. A Christian, and later the concept of Messiah comes later. That's not actually, this is going to be a different debate. I want to get this going, but there is no talk of Messiah in the Torah. There's one little place that everyone uses about the scepter of Shiloh, but that has nothing to do, that doesn't say Messiah anywhere. That was later interpreted by prophets later in the Tanakh. And that wasn't Moses, okay? And so a Christian is someone who accepts the messianic prophecy, the 5 books of Moses' law, expects a Messiah to come, claims the Messiah is Jesus Christ at minimum. Now, those Christians will be like, no, Jesus isn't the Messiah, Jesus is God. Great. Starting point Messiah, and anything else above that you say about Jesus is now a Christian. Prophecy fulfilled, Messiah is Jesus, you're a Christian, right? Okay. A Christian then says Jesus is God. So a Jew says 5 books of Moses, right? A Messiah is coming and will save the world. Muslims say 5 books of Moses, the Messiah came, his name was Jesus, and he was a prophet, a chosen prophet above all of the prophets, and a man, not a God. That's a Muslim. And then the Christian says, no, he was the prophet, he was the Messiah, but he's also God. That's the difference between these 3. Muslims say Jesus Messiah, human. Christians say Jesus Messiah, God. Jews say Messiah is coming. And there you have a true dichotomy, because Christians are, especially the eschatology of Zionist Christianity, they're waiting for the Antichrist to come. Right? So they're waiting. Well, how do you usher that in a little bit better? Oh, I have an idea. The Jews are waiting for these certain prophecies to be filled so they can tell us who their Messiah is, right? Well, Jesus is the Messiah, and these Jewish people don't know who the Messiah is, and we need the Antichrist to come. Therefore, we're going to help them because their Messiah must be the Antichrist, right? This is the game plan. This is the strategy. And so the Jews need the Holy Land, check. The Jews need to get a red heifer and purify so they can enter create a 3rd temple, check. The Jews need to take the Dome of the Rock to create the 3rd temple, check. Anything they need done, we need to do it, everything they need, because we need to usher in the return of Jesus. And the only way that happens, according to this eschatology, is the Antichrist has to come. So that's who they believe it is. The Zionist Jews, at least the religious ones that are moving with this, understand fully that this is what the Christians think. But they believe, hey, these Christians, Jesus was the Messiah. Jesus is dead. The Messiah is not going to die. So we need to utilize them and have them assist us in all ways. So when the Messiah really comes, they'll either convert or be killed and cleansed off the earth. And the Muslims share the same thing as the Christians.
So the Jews are using the Christians to get what they need, knowing that they
Zionists.
don't. Or I'm sorry, I apologize.
The
Zionist Christians,
Zionist Jews, Zionist Christians
are using the Zionist Christians to get what they need and resources they need, knowing that the Zionist Christians are using the Zionist Jews. Like, is that what I'm understanding?
They are using each other. They are both using each other to usher in their day of judgment. They say, one day we'll know. They're like, I guess God only knows. Like, let's find out. Let's get to that place and find out. That's exactly what's going on. And the Muslims believe the same thing as the Christians. They believe that there will be an Antichrist. They call it the Dajjal, that will come, claim to be the Messiah, Jesus, and then will later claim to be God. And majority of the world will bow down, etc., etc. And then the Muslims believe that Jesus comes back, slays the Dajjal, and will tell everyone you're Muslim now, So the point about death cult, I don't know what else you call.
Everybody's planning the end. Everybody's planning the end. They're like in a race to the end, right?
That's why it's a death cult. That's my point. If you follow, it's I don't know how you argue this. That's the problem. I don't know how you argue that. Anyone who is trying to do whatever they can to usher in the end of days is in a death cult. You can claim it's Christian. You can claim it's Judaism. You can claim it's Islam. You can create a Buddhist death cult if you want. You can create anything you want. But we don't need to guess what it actually means. Like, we have the 5 books of Moses. We have the words of Jesus. And again, anyone can get in here and say, oh, Paul never met Jesus. And those are different arguments. And I mean, I have no problem having those conversations now as well. But sticking to the claims here, when Theodore Herzl describes a society that is created as a national secular project, where the moralities of European law will supersede the laws of the Torah, that is literally anti-religious. That goes completely against the entire concept of that, and Christians, oh my God, I mean, when Christians are supporting a Christian, I don't know how a Christian can be a Zionist, because as far as the Christians are concerned, the temple fulfillment was fulfilled in the creation of Jesus. In Jesus the Messiah, he fulfilled all of those rituals. That's why Paul said, you don't have to circumcise, you don't have to this, no more sacrifices. Jesus fulfilled everything. He's the blood, he's the lamb, he's the final sacrifice. So the idea that there is any concept, the temple of God is within, there's so many, there's so many things that Jesus said that has nothing to do with it. For not, we all descended from Israel, being Israel within, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not a big fan of Paul, so I don't really put his words in there. But if you're a Christian, Paul's 48% of the New Testament. So, maybe I should pull up some Paul quotes here and see if that goes for or against the concept of Zionism, because according to Paul, everything was fulfilled. Jesus will come back when the Antichrist comes, and there's no works. Faith through belief, not works. Judaism's through works. Islam through works. According to Paul, Christians believe in Jesus, 99%, the job's done.
I mean, do you think this is a weird conspiracy roundabout way that I can say this, but this was the first thing that kind of popped in my head when you were saying like Christian Zionists are using like Zionist Jews and Zionist Jews are using Zionist Christian. But I could only think that would be the world's biggest scam, is to convince the Christians that, hey, when our Messiah comes, and then that would be your Antichrist, you should help us do this because then you'll achieve that. Like, but then there's like to me, that sounds like a big scam. Like, let me convince you that the path to heaven, right? Because when the Antichrist comes, like basically we all go, the trumpets, whatever, at least to the true believers, it's like we all get to go to heaven, life's good. But that would be like the ultimate scam. I know you want to get up to God. I know you want to get up to heaven. And if you help me do these things that whatever I need, then I can ensure that when our stuff happens, so does yours.
I can there, but it started in a place. And then it started in a place, and it started during this thing called Exodus. And in Exodus, right? And in Exodus was after the plagues and after everything, finally the Pharaoh. If you remember at the beginning, the Pharaoh had a battle with Moses and Aaron and the staff and the snake, serpent, the other serpent, right? If Moses and Aaron had a battle with the sorcerers and magicians of Pharaoh, remember at the beginning of it? And then he said, let my people free, no plagues, this, and eventually get out of here, right? Well, there's a concept in Exodus chapter 12, verse 38. It describes the mixed multitude that were injected with the Hebrew people, right? Because at this time, they're considered the Hebrew people, right? It goes Hebrew, then with the covenant of Jacob becoming Israel, then there's the Israelites, right? And now we're talking about this concept of an ideology called Zionism. So it's very important that we separate these things, because the worst possible thing is to make a statement and then someone's still thinking in their brain, Jews. You're missing the entire point, because what I'm about to say may fuel that problem. And I'm specifically stating there's a difference, right? According to the laws of Moses, if you don't believe in God, or if you don't keep the Sabbath, or if you don't follow the laws, right, the mitzvot, then you have a problem, right? And so in Exodus chapter 12, verse 38, it describes these mixed multitude of people known as the Erev Rav, right? And the Erev Rav has been expanded on through the entire history of Judaism, to the point that every single famous rabbi that has ever lived across every single framework of and developmental segment of Judaism all point and give warnings about the Erev Rav to the people, whether it's the creator of the modern Orthodox concept, the Baal Shem Tov, whether it's the author of the Zohar, Rabbi Yochai, who created the Zohar, whether it's there are all these different sects who in real time, some of them oppose each other, like half of the Jewish world was on one side and the other half was on the other side. And they all warn the same thing about the Erev Rav, which the concept goes. Now this is Kabbalistic, this is interpretive, this is very famous rabbis saying their opinions of this and making claims and so on. But it is a consistent thing from in real time about the Erev Rav, right? EREV, RAV, right? When they make statements, they basically said that that upon telling them to leave, that the Pharaoh injected his darkest sorcerers and magicians in with the Hebrew people to go find their source of the magic. Now, someone who's really hates Jews is going to be like, damn it, he's falling for the conspiracy that's the Jews lying to you to blame someone else. Great. Enjoy that. In my reality, this world is filled with two things. There's good and there's evil. And there's us with choices. We can choose our thoughts, our deeds, and our words. That's how this world works, right? There's hot and cold, and there's variation. Now, all aspects in our five sensorial, three-dimensional reality have perspectives and variables. If I say it's hot in here, you think hot. But if I was born in Miami and you were born in Antarctica, your perspective of hot and mine would be very different, right? Right. It would be a different temperature and it would be a different experience, right? So that is definitely a subjective thing. But good and evil in a foundational thing, I believe, is a concrete statement. The concept of, well, only if it's just a little bit. Yeah. That's your problem. See, you're dancing with your reptilian R cortex brain. Don't expect me to pretend that the road is swervy when it's forward and back. That's not, I don't have that complexity. I lived in the jungle for years, got rid of that shit. That's your poison that you must, you have to neutralize that poison. And so they basically are saying that these sorcerers, some of them, actually, I do have some. One guy, Rabbi Akiva, very famous rabbi, say of the 600,000 Jewish people that were Hebrew people that were released for Exodus, to say up to 240,000 of them were these Erev Rav. Another guy, Rabbi Yishmael, says 120,000, which is a considerable percentage of the people who would later take the covenant directly from God, right? This is in Moses' real time. This is Exodus, right? And so here are some quotes, actually, because I'm not Jewish nor a rabbi, so I don't have the entire history of Judaism memorized in my mind. But to sum it up, one of the biggest authors ever who wrote the Zohar, or is credited with writing the Zohar, says the Erev Rav are the ones who damage Israel more than all other nations. See, it's a spiritual force of internal corruption, more harmful than external enemies. Leaders who use force and deception and trickery to fool the Jewish people. Enemies, even when they appear to be superficially good, a cause of spiritual disconnection from God. All of them go into it. This is the Vilna Gaon, one of the top 5 most famous rabbis of all. Vilna Gaon means the genius of Gaon. He says, Erev Rav is not just a historical group, but a spiritual force of internal. I just said that. Sorry. The Erev Rav is our greatest enemy. The klipa is like the shell, like meaning like your body is the klipa, housing your soul in Hebrew. The Erev Rav is our greatest enemy. The klipa of the Erev Rav works only through deception and roundabout ways. Therefore, the war against the Erev Rav is the most difficult and bitterest of all. This is a rabbi warning the Jewish people about the Erev Rav who are inside of Judaism and are using Judaism for evil. So if you are doing that, are you a Jew? No. Can you be a Jew if you don't believe? Let me ask you a question. If you're born a Muslim and you say, I don't believe in God, are you a Muslim?
I mean, I wouldn't think so, because they Muslims believe in God, right? Yeah.
Of course, you're not a Muslim.
Right.
If you're a Christian and say, you know what, I don't believe in God, are you a Christian now? No. But if you're a Jew and you say, I don't believe in God, you're still a Jew.
Why?
Because they say so. That's the point.
How do you know this is what you say?
Because the Talmud and all it goes into, it goes from Moses saying, those of us who do not believe in God are going to be stoned. Those who don't keep the Sabbath in our covenant are, think of it like as armor. They say, we are one people. We are the Israelites. We have the books. Moses had 40 years to sit there and write everything down. 3 of the books are law and the other 2 are not, right? And here's our books. Here is the reason why the first generation couldn't go into the Holy Land was because they were impure. Because when Moses disappeared, they were worshiping the golden calf. Remember? According to Jewish mystics, they say that the Erev Rav were the ones. Now, it does sound like you're blaming someone else. I understand why some things, they're like, those are the Jews blaming other people for what they chose to do. That's fine. But the point is that in reality, if they were worshiping the golden calf because Moses didn't come back, and when Moses came back, what happened? He stoned a minimum of 3,500 of them, right? Now that entire generation was not allowed to go into the Holy Land. They had to live in exile in the deserts, in Moab, right? Or Midian, whatever, right? Then Moses wasn't able to go. Why did Moses couldn't go? Because everyone was bitching and complaining. They were at Moses, we're hungry, and like Moses, we have no water. And he grabs the staff and he said, must I do everything for you? And he smashes the staff into the rock, and then the water comes out. Now, why is Moses not allowed to go? He said, must I, not must we. He claimed God's power. He claimed divinity. He claimed not being a source or a channel of this thing. And because of that, now he is not allowed to go. So the entire first generation of these allegedly 600,000 Hebrew Israelites were not allowed to enter the Holy Land. So he had 40 years to get this thing organized for everybody, right? And so here we go. Let's do some more quotes about the Erev Rav. Here we go. Rabbi Chaim Vital in the 1500s. The destruction of Judaism never comes from those who oppose it, but from those on the inside who pervert and counterfeit it. Those whose main motivation is, let us make a name for ourselves. Sounds like Rabbi Chaim Vital was warning you about people who make a name for themselves, as opposed to the name that were already given by the covenant. And there's thousands of these quotes. Now,
so they're dealing with like an internal hijacker, essentially.
No, we all are.
Right. But I mean, like in that moment, that's what they're dealing with during Moses and everything. Like there are people trying to infiltrate from the inside out and turn it over so that they can, essentially messed with them so they couldn't go to the Holy Land. Because that would make sense to me, right?
Sure. I mean, allegedly it was to find the source of this magic that Moses was able to flaunt. Sounds very Egyptian Pharaoh-y. Sounds pretty branded. If you're the Pharaoh and this guy rolls in with a stick and showcased more magic than your entire, potentially 100,000 years of empire of magic and alchemy and chemistry, and this guy comes in with a staff and teaches everyone a lesson and then showcases that magic for the entire peoples. And then seeing all these people leave, showing that he single-handedly or with Aaron defeated Moses. Of course, the Pharaoh is going to send his sorcerers and get to work, bring it back, right? That makes a lot of sense. I mean, isn't aren't the people who desire power always searching for something? And doesn't it always, you know, it's funny because in our world, we've always known about good and evil in all the stories, whether it's Cain killing Abel, whether it's the serpent of the Garden of Eden, whether it's their concept of the original sin, whether it's Inkian and Lil, whether it's Thor and Loki. There's always one good, one bad, and our free choice and free will on choosing that. For some reason, it seems that we always, quote, choose the wrong thing, right? But, you know, if you really look at it, it's always been a battle of good and evil. And nowhere in time and space on earth has anyone ever said that there wasn't good and evil, except in our modern day, we just act like this evil's not there. I mean, it's like in our face, the same way that the people of Rome at some point knew that the elite were pedophiles, right? Openly, no one did anything. In Egypt, the same thing. In Greece, the same thing. And all around the world, in lots of different empires. For some reason, and I can tell you the reason, but for some reason, they always turn to dark and then darker, 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 right?
Never comes back.
Yeah, one line of cocaine, and then it's every line after is trying to get as high as the first one. So you have two choices. You can either do double the amount of cocaine, or you can cut the time between lines in half. You eat a whole pizza one time, then what next time you're comparing it to that one time. So, and so on. This is temptation, right? This is imprinted temptation within ourselves. And some of our desires that pop up into the ego, and now we're having an internal dialogue between internal Hegelian dialectic in many ways. But for some reason, no one can point out at any point in history where anyone ever declared, dun, 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 evil has been defeated. When was evil ever taken off?
I don't think they ever have.
Everyone knows there's always been black magic. Tell me why. So if I say black magic, someone goes, Omar, I don't know. Maybe you spent too much time in the jungle. Okay. Tell me when in the world ever magic,
it's never been defeated.
When did it disappear?
Like it's almost like we're constantly in that battle, that uphill battle against evil, but yet it's never yet been conquered because we have to fight it on a daily basis, even internally, right? As an individual.
That's jihad. That's a beautiful thing, to make a declaration and stick to your word for yourself. That's jihad, and it's a lifelong process. And if you're spending all your time focusing on not feeding your weaker things, whether it's, you know, through the thoughts, like first of all, you stop it in your deeds, right? Your actions. Then you stop it in your words, right? And then you stop it in your mind, and eventually you're free from it, whether it's whatever, alcohol, negativity, whatever the case may be. That process is a journey. It's a internal war. But if we spent all of our time focusing on ourselves, we wouldn't be able to cast the first stone, right? That's the entire message. But if the handlers focus us on each other and always pointing at the evil over there and the evil over there, it's the oldest trick in the book, right? To keep us thinking that there's
always something else. Like there's always something else worse than what you're trying to deal with now. So let's bring it back to today. In today's world and what's going on, because there's Zionism going left, right, and center all across the world right now, especially with what's going on in Iran and Israel and everything. So where are we with like Zionism being a death cult now in today's world?
Well, the death cult claim is because of the eschatology. So that I think
or in terms of
ushering in the end of days, so you can manipulate. So a perfect case in point is there was a man named Sabbatai Sebi. Now everyone's heard of Sabbatean Francus, right? Everyone's like, oh, the Sabbatean Francus, right? And then some people have done some research and realized, well, okay, these were real people who fooled a massive amount of people in real time on earth. And the traditional people who just blame the Jews, they go, that's just another conspiracy, right? But these people lived, and we need to take notes of what they were able to do, because the movement that Sabbatai Sebi created is no different than what Hitler and company created with the ideology of Nazism. So, but in a different scale. One would be creating war on the earth, an outward, the outward materialization of Nazism was very different from what Sabbatai Tzvi created, right? But the point was the same, right? It was the manipulation of some form of prophecy, whether you create your own or interpret your own. This guy, Sabbatai Tzvi, was he was a Jewish guy who lived in the mid 1600s. I think it was like 1666, ironically. And he claimed to be the Messiah, right? No one really bought into it too. Apparently, he was a scholar. He had everything memorized, like book, chapter, verse, like the entire Torah. They could just recite it, the entire Torah by heart. Is that true or not? I don't know. But there was a man named Nathan of Gaza, who was a very well-respected rabbi at the time, who co-signed for him, said, that's the Messiah. And they go, that must be the Messiah. Nathan of Gaza said it. Dun, 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 or the shofar, and they blow the shofar in every direction, and everyone goes, good news. The gospel means good news. The gospel has arrived. The Messiah is here. Do everything you can. Come, it's showtime. And it was like, oh my God. Everyone, by the way, millions of people sold everything, packed what they could, right? Mid 1600s. To come to follow this Messiah. And what did the Messiah do? He had very interesting interpretations. He had a very, his perspective was, okay, guys, here's the situation. I've got it figured out. If we just sit here and stay pious, then we have nothing to repent for. We have to actually create sin consciously. So then we have dirt to pray and cleanse. Because if we just sit here and pray all day, then we're not going to actually have anything to cleanse off. So we're going to have ceremonies and we're going to get real fucking dirty, right? We're going to, like pigs, roll in the mud. And then we all see that we have dirt to cleanse off. And God will be happy. How do we know? Because I told you. How do I know? I'm the Messiah. They go, done. So that's where at one point he married a Torah scroll. It was a sex cult, right? There was debauchery. Yes. And if you fast forward, we've all heard of Aleister Crowley. Where do you think all this stuff comes from? Not saying it comes from Judaism. I'm saying it has nothing to do with Judaism. Judaism is being utilized for someone else to create their own God complex situations, as all the religions are with these charismatic leaders. And we have to watch whether they're political. Political is an ideology too. MAGA is an ideology. Nazism, ideology. Zionism, ideology. These are ideologies. The problem in the world today, and the problem in the world always has been, ideologies that people believe to be some form of divine inspiration. That's false prophecy. That is not so anyway, so what he did, so roll in the mud like a pig, and then we know what we have to cleanse off, right? God's going to come. He had millions of people, in the mid 1600s. Imagine if today millions of Jewish people sold everything immediately and went to Turkey to follow somebody who said they were the Messiah. Right now, you'd be like, wow,
yeah, it'd be kind of weird.
But that guy's telling you, don't worry about sin. We're doing sin so we can cleanse, obviously. If you don't have dirt on your body, what are you cleaning off? Enjoy. That's from a Christian perspective, that's Satanism, right?
Right.
Etc. Right? And so they went on their merry way with this, and they're marching, and then they hit a place called Istanbul, right, in the Ottoman Empire. They saw this guy. They said, "Seize him." They brought him in, and who knows what happened? But he came out and said, "Good news! I converted to Islam, and I invite all of you. We're all Muslim now." That's the final message. Now, of course, some say he was tortured. He never really converted. His heart was really la, 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 whatever. Those are the excuses stuff. But a considerable number of his followers converted to Islam as well. Now, here's the funny part. His followers moved to an island called the Thessalonica Islands. It was former Greece, now it's Turkey. It's a Thessalonica Islands off the coast of Turkey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is where the Sabbateans have existed since that time. Now, I don't want to get into that part so much, but there have been many world leaders that were born in that island who were Muslims and later created the nation state of Turkey, who created it. And you can just go down that little rabbit hole. And that's just the Sabbateans. Fast forward to the mid 1700s, less than 100 years later, a man was born in Poland named Jacob Frank. Jacob Frank was a Jewish guy. And he said, guess what? Not only am I the Messiah, but I'll tell you exactly why I'm the Messiah. I'm the reincarnation of Sabbatai Sebi. And they go,
this sounds like one like huge conspiracy theory death trap of nonsense.
Listen, you can look. The problem is this is historical. The problem is this happened on large scale within a group of people. So we can see how, like, if you 1,000 years from now, we're going to tell a story about a country called Germany, who were infested with an evil parasite called Nazism, and they'll describe what happened for that 30-year period, and then it disappeared. And we're going to be like, how did they fall for that? We're going to be saying the same shit about Zionism as we did about Nazi, about all this stuff. So Jacob Frank did the same thing. He said, we're going to take it to even a step further than Sabbatai Sebi, because the problem was last time I was here, I didn't do it right. But now that I left, went back to sit next to the throne of God and came back, now I can tell you exactly how it's going to get done, right? And so he marched everyone all around Poland, and he didn't have the same following because everyone just fell for that shit 82 years ago. But he had a massive, massive following. And then he marched into, I can't remember, Warsaw, Krakow, Poland, some part of Poland, went into the church. Guess what he did? He came out and said, dun, 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 we're now Christian.
Okay, wait, hold on a second, though. What if you would like to join the panel, the link has been dropped in the chat. Please feel free to start making your way backstage now. But, I mean, what if this was what happened when Jesus said, hey, that's me, I'm the guy?
Except one problem. Yes, there are people who can make that argument, and that's what the Jews would say. The Jews would say he was a false Messiah, obviously, right? They would also say that he didn't fulfill the prophecies and so on and so on. And there, there's many rabbis who argue that, Isaiah 53, why Jesus is not, and then there are Christian apologetics that will say he is, and so on. So I'll leave my personal opinion of that out for now. We can have that debate later. But I don't believe in human saviors anyway. I think that's the biggest trick ever. You just sit here, pray, and someone's going to come save you. Just let everything be. It's all God's plan. Don't do anything. You just sit here, let them do whatever they're going to do. God's going to save you. Yeah, that's a great trick. I'm not going to sit here. So I think that's a big scam. But I would say that in my perspective of what Jesus was saying, Jesus said, I did not come to change the law. I came to fulfill it. And the law he's describing is the law of Moses. When Jesus said, not a jot or tittle will be changed from the law until the day of judgment, he's telling them, it's been written. All of his arguments with the Pharisees and Sadducees was against their rabbinical interpretation of Moses's law. So I would say you can't really, there are people who would make that argument. You can say he wasn't the Messiah based off of Isaiah 53, 43, whatever interpretations of that. That's fine. But as far as a person who was arguing with the rabbinical priest class of the time, I would side with what Jesus was saying over them, because they had it pretty well wrapped up. It's the same thing with the Catholic Church. When in 323 to 325, when the first Nicene Council was created, the first 8 ecumenical councils, and they created their Christology, and they created the language, and created the Jesus, God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit concept initially, the Gospels were translated into Latin. No one was allowed to touch it for
Right.
a very, very, very long time, which means now the priest or the archbishop or the archdiocese or wherever you are would read and tell you what it says and tell you what it means.
Mhm.
And you have to just take that as God's word, because this is a representative of the Holy Roman Church, which would be a pope, and the pope is the vicar of Christ on earth, right? And it wasn't initially that, because it was still the king, it was the emperor for a while. But the point is that Jesus was arguing with those Pharisees and Sadducees and saying, your interpretations are bullshit. You guys are the den of vipers. He went in and he flipped the money changers and said, woe to you, Pharisees, right? He's telling you, slow your roll. You guys are manipulating these fools, but you're not manipulating me. So I would say that it's hard to argue that with Jesus.
Right.
I would say that Jesus was calling out bullshit, very similar to my argument today.
That's fair. I mean, I don't know. The more we dive into it, the more everything just starts sounding like one big hogwash system of everybody's using each other. Everybody's pretending something. There's magic, sorcery, right? My staff's bigger than your staff and can do more magic than you. And it yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just, I mean, I'm a Christian and I'm solid with my faith, but like the more bullshittery you hear that has been passed down and all of the switcheroos, and like I can convince billions of people to follow me into stupidity, right? This is like classic case of Kool-Aid and Nike shoes at that rate. And it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. It makes any religion actually seem more scary. And the fact that, oh, well, we were teaching God's word, but you couldn't read and you couldn't read the language. So therefore you had to just accept what they were telling you. Like, how much more is bullshit beyond this?
That you're like, how much? Oh my God, so much. This would be, you know,
it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought, you know, to think that there is a lot behind the curtain, and we, you know, the average Christian only knows something topical in what they want to believe, or this is all good, this is this. But then it's like, open the curtain up and it's like, oh, by the way, there was all this other bullshit that went around. But let's do some super chats, and then I've got a full panel waiting backstage for you.
Yeah, I can also tell you and one last thing, that even just the concept of Zionism, or the concept of the land of Zion, you know, that's only one place. That's in 2 Samuel. That's in 2 Samuel, and that's just talking. Zion was like the name of a camp on a mountain near Jerusalem before they came and took the Holy Land for the first time with King David. And it had nothing to do with, right? But it's ironic because it's a double entendre, because Zion, 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 6-7, it summoned all the armies to come to this point, which was called Zion, before they took the Holy Land, right? Which was like
Mount Zion or something.
Yeah, it was the name of, like, they called it Zion, right? And so that was King David. So that's exactly what's happening here. But the interesting part, just to touch on something else here for really quick, you know, Theodor Herzl, not just his book, which was written in German, Das Hanfen, whatever it was, it's a bunch of shit in there. But he has his diaries, which was published in 1960, which is 1,000 pages. You just go read what this guy, his letters to the Pope. He said, help us get our own homeland, because I feel that within 2 generations, we'll be able to purify the curse that is Judaism out of our bloodlines. He said crazy, crazy shit. I would say he was top 3 anti-Semites ever. That's the funny part. He created a word called moshel, right? Moshel is a German Yiddish word that means, it's a derogatory term, obviously. It's in the 1890s and the 1900s, it's like calling someone anti-Semite. But the problem was the word that he created, he was calling that to Jews who didn't agree with this idea. So a moshel was a term for anyone who's sly, evasive, and speaks deceitful, right? This is what he said he wrote this essay. This is the most important one. I'll just read some things he said before these people come up. Here's what he said. These are quotes from 1897, the essay called Marshall. No true Jew can be an anti-Zionist. Now, why? Because Moses said so? No, because Theodore Herzl said so. How about that? He said, only a marshal is an anti-Zionist. He said, who is this marshal anyway? A figure that keeps reappearing over the ages, the hideous companion of the Jew. Are they real Jews? Not at all. No true Jew can be anti-Zionist. The marshals are our enemy. The marshal turns his gaze not to Zion, but to some country where he might be able to take refuge. And he says, beware, marshal. The second arrow of Zionism is intended for your chest.
What's that mean?
Meaning, when you see these not religious Jews, like bullying, we're passing laws against there was a law passed where you're not allowed to wrap tefillin in the street. You know, these Orthodox Jews that are like praying in public. It's the suppression of any outwardly expression of Judaism publicly. You see it all over Israel, left and right. Why do you think all the Orthodox Jews haven't moved to Israel? Because according to Judaism, they're supposed to happen when the Messiah comes. And how does the Messiah come? The Messiah comes through repentance and keeping God's laws. And God decides no man knows the time nor the day, right? It's the same concept. And it's like, for example, like the people that break the covenant will be removed from the land. Leviticus 26, Jewish identity as part of the tribes of the Israel covenant of that land specifically dictates that the land is conditional upon the actions and deeds of the people of the book to keep their covenant. Not the British doing this, not based off of manipulation, not based off of anything, etc., etc., etc. But again, you can just make apology. You can be like, no, don't you understand? It's all God's. Yeah, but that's the way. If you say everything's in God's hands and this is all part of God's plan, I'd say then you're now saying that humans don't have free will and evil does not exist.
Right. And then, you're saying that they'll just. Yeah, go ahead.
And then the problem is on the now we're going to 2% of the people will say, yes, exactly. I'm saying that this is all part of God's plan. So then I say, so we do, and they go, nothing. Oh, okay. So everyone do, and we don't do, and we're good. Got it.
Right. Yep. Pretty much. All right. I got a full lit panel backstage. It is, every seat is filled. We still have more room backstage if you want to join as well, and we'll start flip-flopping people around. But Ayatin sent in the Big Ten to start off our lovely goal with nothing but tomatoes. I love tomatoes. And she gave the gift that keeps on giving out with one Raging Tomato membership. And Tom Carpenter also wants you to enjoy what's behind closed doors here at Mater Nation with those 10 Raging Tomato memberships. Enjoy them. James is sending the big $9.99. He just didn't want to do the full 10 because he didn't want to hit the goal. That's what James likes to do. Powder Dusty with the Big 10 says Omar's foliage game wins. Shout out to that plant because I know you were actually maneuvering that backstage too. So it worked. It worked. All right. They love it. They love it. Toasty Man Bad says with the Big 10, what's going on with that gold, chat? Why is it drier than my 40-day Zion string? Yes, and he did kick it off. More started flooding in. 420 comes in with just a Big 10 just because I love that. And also Texas Bully Mom with my favorite kind of dono with nothing to say but hello, Mater Nation. And then she follows up with one more, says, surprisingly, I agree with him quite a bit. I like that. I'm actually interested to see what the panel says and how many are going to go left and how many are going to go right on this matter, because I think there's also going to be a few odd ones back there who are going to just completely go off the rails, entirely different from what's going on. Are you ready to meet your panel, Mr. Omar?
Sure.
Here we go. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I do have a stocked panel, and I do have a Jimmy backstage. Hang tight, Jimmy. Duck normally doesn't last very long. I would prefer everyone threw their cameras up. That would be way better on the optics here. Hello and welcome. We're gonna start off
I have
with
a pimple.
you have a pimple. Well, put a Band-Aid
But
on it.
it's on your butt. Just turn your camera on.
Oh, that's just your head.
There we go. Everyone's here. Let me flip-flop you out over there. Here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. If everyone could kindly mute themselves up for a moment, we're going to keep ourselves on mute. We're going to go one by one. Everybody gets to ask their one question or make their comment to Omar. Let them have a little back and forth for a moment, and then we're going to work our way around the room. And then we will go into full gauntlet mode where you guys get to play all in open panel chaos, dumpster fire, crazy mess. Okay? Does that sound like a good, agreeable
Can I ask a
concept?
question real quick?
Yeah, sure, Omar.
Cock Squatch. Is that your face, or are you wearing a Ragnar Lothbrok like?
This is me, brother.
Oh my God, you're
100% original.
Oh, it's a country Ragnar.
No, he looks like.
Just
I mean,
remember. You
Damn,
Gibbs shaved his beard. Where'd your beard go, Gibbs?
Yeah, oh, you inspired me, by the way.
Look, we got Ragnar. We have two versions. Yeah,
Don't blame me for that shit.
Oh, what do you mean? Let me tell you. So I was on a
Yeah,
panel.
you look
like
transsexual, Gibbs. What is this?
You're gonna really like this story. Then, so I was on a panel that I had custody here, and he was making fun of the guy who dyed his beard. So I go out to the club, and this guy makes fun of one of my boys for dyeing his beard, and I was like, "Well, we're not gonna have that." So I fucking dyed my shit the next day, and went out to the club and was like, "What, are you gonna say something to me, bitch?" And then I changed it because I mean I like the gray, so fuck it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Named to RuPaul.
Does everybody on stage have a beard?
Yeah,
Even you.
these are all men here. No low T here, boys.
Fair enough. All right. And just as a kind reminder, I do have Jimmy backstage waiting very patiently, but we can't boot anyone yet. We're all going to get our questions out. Sasquatch, let's go ahead and start with you, and we will work our way around.
All right. If I understood you correctly, you're making the distinction between Zionism versus Christianity versus Judaism, and the search and the desire for the Messiah to come. Right? Is that about right?
No, I would say that Zionism is an ideology that was created to move the Jewish people from the covenant with the Torah and move them to an ethnicity, right? Which they are both, but to make them an ethno-national project, which they assigned, which there were multiple nations that were thinking about first, but then they ended up after the World War I, and then after World War II, when the British already had it, they got the land of Palestine, which is now Israel, right? Christian Zionism itself was created in the early 1900s with this manipulation of the Schofield Bible. And so the Zionist project, which appropriated and put on the klipa of Judaism, infiltrated American politics through the spirituality of the actual faith of the American people. And through the Southern Bible Belt, took that Schofield Bible and created now what we see. So it took the Christian people to be like, oh, it's your responsibility to like bend the knee to Israel, and whatever they say is in God's plan, because they're going to bring in the Antichrist, and that means Jesus is going to come.
But is it necessarily the Antichrist that they're looking to bring in and not the Messiah? I mean, you don't get one without the other, do you?
Yeah, so that's the apologetic of it. The problem is that if the goal is we need to help them bring I'm not saying I agree with this, but if we think they're bringing the Antichrist, right? They're bringing the Antichrist. We're believing the Messiah, right? Okay, so we have the Messiah, they have the Antichrist. So if we're going to do everything we can to help them fulfill whatever the hell they need to do for us to bring the Messiah, then we might as well just have big gay parties and do all the worship the golden calf, because it's the same concept of doing something that's against God's laws to bring in the Messiah or the second coming of the Messiah, however perspective you look at it.
All right. Last question, and I'll let it go.
That's what monotheism would call Satanism.
Can you please explain to me about the damned red heifers? No one's been able to give me a straight lick on that one.
Well, we know the guys sell the red heifers here in Texas, by the way.
I've been tracking the red. There's an app called Red Heifer Tracker. No, I'm just joking.
He's dead serious. What are you talking about?
So here's what it is. The concept of anything that has to do with multiple temples and so on, that's way after Moses, right? That's later in Tanakh and later rabbinical. So first temple, second temple was when Jesus came. He said it would fall. They would say, well, that was written after it had already fallen. Okay, whatever. Jesus said it would fall, it fell. Now they're trying to bring back a third temple. In order for the Jews to be able, according to them, and their rabbinical interpretation, Talmudic interpretations, in order for them to create a third temple, they have to first purify themselves. So they have to take a red heifer that's all red, not a single blemish, real. There cannot be a single hair in this red heifer that's not red. And then they have to have a pure rabbi to sacrifice it. And they take those ashes, can cleanse themselves. Now they're allowed to enter the temple. And the whole point, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, of getting the temple again is to reinstate all of the other mitzvot that have to do with temple sacrifices. So if there's 613 mitzvot for a Jewish person, something like everything except like 82 of them have to do with temple sacrifices. So the idea is to be able to sacrifice millions and millions of animals again. Amen, right? And so that wasn't happening. So what our good Christian friends, Zionist Christian friends in Texas did was they said, hey, man, I made a lot of money with oil. So the guy invested many, many, many millions of dollars to genetically modify red heifers. And there's documentary on it. And so he finally was able to make 5 of them that passed the initial qualification of that. So the Third Temple Institute accepted these red heifers. The guy spent like $5-6 million, by the way. They flew these red heifers on multiple private planes, right, to the Holy Land just a year ago. And now they were under 2 years ago. They're under inspection, and the idea was to sacrifice one so they can actually have and they have everything. Everything is lined up, guys. This guy was basically saying, like, it's my response. God blessed me with finding. He literally said, God blessed me with finding oil in God's earth, so I could create the money to do God's will and create the red heifers, so they can fulfill the prophecy, so Jesus can come back. That's what the guy
Sarah,
said on the
can you put up the screen from backstage that I shared?
Yeah.
There's another group of folks. They're called rednecks, and they've developed a type of cow called a South Pole. And these things are all red, and there's millions of them. The idea was if we can't genetically if we can't genetically create a perfect specimen, we'll create an entire species so that maybe 5 of them or 2 of them out of the millions we grow might make the cut. South Pole.
You can go. The people, they're very smart people. You could make a phone call and maybe cut a deal and ship some of those to the Temple Institute. Just Google Temple Institute.
Well, no, the way these people are doing it is they've got hundreds and maybe even thousands of farms at this point that are using South Pole cattle. They're a new breed, a new species, largely developed to be able to live off the land or whatever you want to call it, good homestead cattle. But they're specifically bred to be red, just in case.
Oh, for that reason? That's hilarious. Yes. Because when it all happens, the God of the Garden of Eden is going to be like, thank God, finally you guys figured out that I blessed you with science, so that way you could fulfill the prophecies. Yeah, I bet. That's
funny. Speaking of blessings, Gorilla Biscuits blessing someone with a Powder Dusty membership. Also, as a kind reminder, if you are on stage or backstage and you want to connect in and dual stream whatever you want, more power to sharing is caring. You're more than welcome to hit that blue button in the top right corner. Pass sending the big tents is real one, family, and respect. Shout out to you. And hopefully your mic is on and working. Go ahead if you have a question or comment. It'll take a second. It always does.
Hello?
There we go. We got you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the microphone, the hardware is failing, so sometimes I have to adjust it to you guys can hear me.
While you're the only camera down?
We know.
No, I don't have a camera. I use a headset.
Go ahead, Ant, with your question. or comment.
Matt, I don't own a camera. I don't want one. You're losing my train of thought. So I have a different perspective as an atheist. I don't know all of this history and background in scripture, but so what I'm hearing is we should. You want to distinguish Zionism as this ideology. So first off, for what purpose? Like, how's it useful to categorize it as an ideology?
The same way you categorize an apple as a fruit. What else am I supposed to categorize it as? Is there something? No. Is there something else?
Oh, that's good stuff, dude. I want to hear his answer. Wait, don't fall to the silence.
It's called a death. It's called a death blow. Continue.
God damn, and
it's called a decapitation. That's called a decapitation. That was the.
he's just on the microphone.
I was thinking about quitting YouTube. I'm done. This is no. I can't do this anymore.
What?
Fatality.
You got two guys with one.
You win.
Doc,
I guess that means it's Rick's turn.
Yeah, we're just.
Doc, why is there two of you?
Two of who?
Doc.
Sarah's off. Balderson, take control of the panel.
Yeah, Sarah's offline.
Maybe
I'm trying to get in on my laptop.
You want me to drop you on this one and pull the other one up?
No.
Yeah, this one. Declaration. This is sick filmatography, but if you don't do that,
I got you, Doc. I got you.
Judge was trying to say something, but then I don't know what happened to his mic. He was saying something about YouTube or something.
Well, he's fine. Don't worry about Doc. Did you get your question asked and answered? Sorry, I had to step away from
No. We kind of got distracted with some interruptions.
He asked me why I'm classified. He said he's an atheist and he doesn't understand all this religious stuff. And then he asked me, why am I classifying Zionism as an ideology? And I said, the same way that you would say a car is an automobile.
Not why. Like, what is the purpose of it? Why are we putting it into this category? Like, for what purpose?
What would you classify Nazism as?
A defunct political structure.
And the final word to classify it would be
political structure.
Ideology.
It could be, yeah. But
yeah, so that's.
I guess what I'm getting at is like, why? But why do we need to? Like, Zionism stands by itself. Like, we know what it is. The purpose of the category is just to identify things.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what it is. That's the entire purpose of me taking my time this evening to talk about it. Because if we all knew what it is, then we would have clear, distinct lines, and we wouldn't be living in such a blurred state. And I'm not trying to attack you, but we only know what we're told it is. COVID, do we know what COVID is, or we know what we were told it is? And therefore, when we're told, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, Chicken Little, sometimes there's people of us who say, the sky's falling. We go, oh my God. We go, hold on, let me look. Hold on, it doesn't appear that the sky's falling. So when they start telling us to wear one mask and two masks and start throwing up statistics showing that 3 masks is 87% better than 1 mask, we don't just listen to what they say. So just because something becomes socially acceptable or positive in our day and age, people do blindly just listen to that. I mean, Hitler was blessed by the Pope right before before shit hit the fan. He was Time Man of the Year, right? I'm not saying, again, I'm just trying to point out an ideology that the world would say was the worst ideology in a long time, right? Was an ideology. So Zionism is a ethno-national secular ideology. And an ideology is just basically the foundational principles and concepts around something. That's what an ideology means. So you could say, by the way, Christianity is an ideology, but specifically you'd have to name one.
Is this just between you and?
Oh, yeah. Shut up, Doc. Just shut up.
Okay. So moving forward. So are you arguing we shouldn't, like, what do you want done with Zionism? Like, what's your goal?
I don't give a shit what someone does with Zionism. That's why
it's the topic. I'm going off that.
Well, I mean, would you say that Zionism today seems to be the biggest? So, what's the biggest problem we have in geopolitics today? Like, we have wars, right? And what are those wars based around? Ideologies amongst so-called religious interpretations, correct? Because I
think his mic was just flipping out.
Okay, you guys hear that too?
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, that's his mechanism that he calls a microphone.
People pay extra for this. People pay extra for this.
There's two types of atheists.
Cup on a string.
There's an atheist like Balderson who is like militant against all the Abrahamic faiths because of all the world history and concrete history of what's happened, which is a lot of war and a lot of killing. And then there's atheists. Then there are atheists that are like, oh, well, who cares? Like, let's just it doesn't really matter because there is no God. So, there's that's your dialectic.
What?
So who cares?
No.
So you say, why do we care? Because we do.
No. I'm just trying to understand your motivations. I'm not trying to say that it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to understand your viewpoint.
On Zionism, I just explained for an hour what my viewpoint.
I understand. That I know, and I'm trying to unpack what you were talking about. Okay.
I just unpacked.
God damn it, Ant.
I got 8 hours.
Can you do the first hour of the show again, please?
Hold on. Everybody else.
I'm sorry. I'm not
It's
trying
all
to be.
That's all right. No, I understand what Ant's asking. So with all of this information of it being a death cult and it's anti-religious and it's satanic, what are your expectations of Zionism due to those factors?
My expectations, I mean, I think they're all following their end times eschatology, not by divine will as each of these religions would, by the hand of man, and that is exactly what their versions of Satanism would be.
Okay, fair enough. I'll accept that for now. I know Ant's switching out his mic. 10th man, to you, please.
Oh, you're
But
lucky.
I just got set up to be able to talk to him.
Thanks. That's good.
I was about to install a whiteboard app on my phone to talk to people, and it's going to rate
God's figured that. Come in.
All right, get to your question.
My IQ is this many. So
what?
I did write down a question just because he had to make it personal. I was like 1,000% on his side, and then he had to make the comment of the gay parties, right? Up until then, buddy, you had me, right?
The gay
back
party?
at the replay. I'm like, I knew it. I knew there was going to be something, right? Because
hold on. What's it? Gay party? What's that?
Parties gay with gay people like me. So you had to go there.
Oh my God,
No,
you're missing my point. Not because I don't believe. Let me clarify.
Hold on. Let him explain it at least.
I never one time said that I personally subscribe to a single word of any of those books. I'm specifically pointing at. No.
Oh, were you quoting somebody else when you said gay parties? We're going there. All right.
I don't know when we said gay parties.
You said gay parties. See, that's what I mean. I think you started riffing.
Bad or gay parties good? Which one did I say? Neither.
You gave it in a negative context, but we're not. We're just going to skip that part.
If I hate gay people, I'm not in a good place.
You let me see your tell, is what I'm saying. So anyway,
you're
question
like
is,
the Zionist looking for you're looking for the anti-Semitic.
There's number two. There's number two.
I don't hate gay people.
So just so you know, bro, I have a show. Every word that you say gets analyzed word for word. Just watch it.
Ask me if I hate gay people. Don't dance.
No. I'm going to ask you the real question. No. We're not going. No. You already let me inside your head. That's too late.
We're not going to ask direct questions.
We're
going to dance
it's already
around
too
to
late.
no music. Go ahead.
It's already too late. So I'll ask you the real question, right? Which is, what other choice would Christians or Zionists have other than to create nonsense to counter other people's nonsense, since people need faith in order to just be part of societies, and they're all death cults. So the simple fact is I think I saw through the veil of what you are. When you said gay parties. No, I'm not going to. No, you tell us who you are. It's not my job to ask you questions that you can lie about. That's not how this works. I play a different kind of game. I see you as a grifter just like everybody else, and I was on your side 100% until you said the gay parties with the negative context, and then I saw your Muslim heritage, and then I knew what you were. So you go right ahead.
My Muslim heritage, he got it. Look, he's got the thing. He's got the Jewish thing. Okay. I don't know what he's talking about.
Because I'm going to side with the ones that aren't going to throw me off a building. You let your tongue slip. You let your tongue slip, brother. You failed. You failed the whole interview.
Hold on. Go ahead, Omar.
Okay. So let me get this straight. The reason why I'm having
not straight.
A one
Can't answer me straight. I don't understand.
Hold on.
Let me get curved.
Let him at least talk.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm coming on here tonight to debate the concept of Zionism is an anti-religious satanic death cult is to attack gay people, but don't say it because I'm afraid to say I don't like gay people.
You're making it worse.
Explain. Why are you making it? Hold on. What? It's the funniest thing in the world.
No, because you're used to dealing with people that are just going to go, yeah, you're so smart. Oh, geez.
No, I'm not. Oh, my, you haven't seen my last two. He hasn't seen my last two times here, buddy.
I'm not smart like you.
The only consistent thing I've seen on here is fucking racist like yourself talking about Muslim cowhead. That's the only thing I've seen here. Put it on the tape.
Hold on.
That's all I
see. I'm a black, Jewish, Irish, lesbian. I can't be racist.
Yeah, You're listen. I don't care about any victim class.
No, see.
So you can be as gay as you want. You can be as Jewish as you want.
All right, we're gonna let's move on. You guys
can be as gay as you want, but don't.
You guys can get into
51% gay.
You guys can get into.
But have some balls and make a direct
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
I'm more straight than you are.
Let me do it this way. Let's save that trash for the full gauntlet mode. Okay. Question has semi been answered, but not really. I don't care at this point. We're going to move on. I do have 3 other people hanging out backstage. They want us to get into full gauntlet mode so that all of you can get booted and they can get up here. All right. Clay, your question, please.
All right. What's up, Omar? So I'm going to have a bit more serious question. So this ideology, Zionism, it comes from the religion of Judaism. It's a separate ideology, more secular than religious.
No. I would say it does not come from Judaism. That's my entire point. I would say that Theodore Herzl created an ideology to take one sentence of something about the Jewish people having their own homeland, their own nation state, and he said, "Hey, we're having all these problems all over Europe. So why don't I start going in, getting everyone else to say, hey, send us to an island somewhere or give us the Congo," I believe they were considering, and Mogadishu, so we can go have our own thing going on. And by the way, it's not going to have anything to do with the religion. It's going to be an ethno state. And that's that. So I don't think it has anything to do with Judaism. I think it's the opposite, actually, as he said.
I'm glad you brought that up. No, that's actually where I wanted to go with this. So I just wanted to ensure that the basis for the understanding is that somebody from that religion came up with a separate ideology based on their knowledge of the historical context.
I agree. I would say that, again, from Exodus, Yahweh warned Moses of the Erev Rav, and Jesus told you those who claim to be Jews and are not worship in the synagogue of Satan. And I'd say you can track it all through history, through Islam, through Christianity, through denominations of all, through Judaism. And anybody who's telling you to go against that, and again, that's if that's your faith. Mm-hmm. I have my own. By the way, I just told you I don't believe in a Messiah. So if I don't believe in a Messiah, then I don't, or any savior coming to save me. And so that, therefore, I cannot be to the Muslims. I'm I'm in the same boat as everyone else, I guess, right? So the idea of like, oh, you're a Muslim secret. Okay, I just told you that I don't believe in one of the tenets. So I don't believe in a Messiah coming to save anybody, and I don't believe necessarily in all of these prophecies whatsoever. But I do understand them all because I understand humanity. So I'm on team humanity with this. Anybody who's going against, if you subscribe to the covenant of Abraham, and any of those books from the prophets and messiahs after that, anything that goes against that, all the prophets warned you about what that is.
So my question is, do you see this more as a land grab than any religiosity?
I think it's deeper than that, man. When you look at this Epstein stuff and you see how it crossed between both political sides across decades and decades, across money and industry and colors of skin and everything, and it all goes into one direction, deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, which ultimately goes to the perversion of the soul through the manipulation, the injury of the innocents. And so what's the most innocent thing in the world? A child. And what's the worst thing you can do to that? Create evil through that. And that evil energy, like, let me give you an example. Jews and Muslims, a Jew has kosher, right, with meat, and then the Muslim has halal, right? Now, it's the same concept, newsflash, right? So they'll say, no, Omar, you don't understand. Yes, I do, because it's older than your religions. See, they understood that when they're going to take an animal, raise the animal humane was normal. They blindfold the animal, they make it feel good, right? And then they cut its throat. The goal is that it dies fast, right? Now, why do you do that? You blindfold it and cut its throat, because if the animal gets any sign that it's going to die, it releases chemicals from the brain that goes through the blood and will pollute the meat with negative energy. There's a specific chemical, right? So kosher and halal means that energy is not in this. It's a clean sacrifice. Yes. Now, but if you were evil or a Satanist, you want that energy. That's the food.
But here's my
food for evil.
My point. So these people who are on this secular view of things don't care about that. They don't believe in that stuff. What they do care about is materialism. So that's why I'm saying it seems to me more to be a land grab. And yes, I do agree with the whole like control over people, the Epstein Island stuff. That is also a factor in this, but it's control over basically the earth. And it's not necessarily a purity thing. It's just simply control.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is the ultimate control over the minds and souls of people or over resources?
That's a really good
money and houses and buildings.
Well, I'm gonna leave it there because I think that's gonna be good for open panel and let other folks get into it.
Yeah, let that one filter itself out. Mr. Balderson, for the record, I like the dark behind you today. Like, it makes you look more intimidating, just for the record. But I'll leave it to you to ask your question, sir.
Yeah, my flashlight battery's not finished charging. And I just wanted to put this up there to make Husky thirsty. See how that comes out. Something for later. Omar, when you say Satanism specifically, do you think that this group that because you're obviously making a distinction between this group and religious Jews. So this other group, then, if they're not following Judaism and you're saying Satanism, is it very specific, or are you using it because that's the common nomenclature right now? Or would it be like in some of the deeper circles they talk about like Baphomet gets bandied about quite a bit. Obviously Baal, Moloch, things like that. So are you specifically tying it to just the Abrahamic, or are you following a line past that to the Babylonian and such?
What a great question. No, I'm just using the language that the Abrahamic faiths have chosen for it. Like if I was speaking only about Christianity, I would refer to Lucifer being Satan on the earth, even though Lucifer is literally completely a mistranslation of Isaiah 14:12. When Isaiah is talking to the king of Babylon, oh, look at you, how you shine so bright, like the morning star, only to fall with the inevitable rise of the glorious sun, right? So that so the word Hallel in Hebrew translates to Lucifer in Latin, and that became a deity, right? Because Jesus on earth needed Superman needs his battle, right? So Satan and God became Jesus and Lucifer. So no, I don't believe in that shit for a split second. But I'm just using the language that people are familiar with so I can talk to them.
So what would you say is the origin of this?
Balderson, one more thing to answer your question, the second part of your question. I think that the idea that in the lands of Canaan, where okay, great, we have the Hebrew Bible, awesome, but we also have the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's one of the oldest ones that we have of actual text that we can touch that talk about post-flood. But then we also have other writings, which is 1500 BC, which is the Ugaritic text. And all of them describe 70 Elohim for 70 pieces of land and 70 tribes, right? And Elohim means gods, which in Christianity is like angels and God, right? But the Elohims are those spirits. And maybe they were in physical, maybe they were not, right? But they were definitely, these are all genies in the lands of Aladdin. This is what we're talking about, really, ultimately. Look, the problem is, when Yahweh or Yahwism was just one of the worships of a singular Elohim, over here was Dagon, over here was Baal, over here, and so on. Some of them were specifically only one. There's only any writings that say one of them were actually doing child sacrifice. And newsflash, it wasn't Baal, it was Moloch, right? Baal was never worshiping, sacrificing kids. We have absolutely no text anywhere that said, I looked everywhere. Okay, it's Moloch there's 2 places it was written about that, right? Which was maybe propaganda. Now, could some of them be doing it, some of them not? Sure, right? But at the end of the day, what happened when Yahwism became the national religion of the land of Israel is they said everything else is evil except what we believe, obviously, right? And that's a very normal thing that happens. The First Crusade killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Christians who did not accept that version of Christianity. That's what they do.
All right. Mr. Gibbs, to you, please. Your question or comment?
Yeah, so let's just say I grant the premise that Zionism and, really Israel as a whole is led by a death cult, However, I think that's a good thing, and I want to see why you think it's a bad thing. If your military-industrial complex stocks, you love them. They're good friends. So why do you hate American workers that work at Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Boeing? Why do you hate American industry? Because we're intimately tied to selling weapons worldwide. And it looks like we're gonna need our death cults to go and whoop that ass for us. Otherwise, we're not gonna have no money. So why do you hate American workers? Why do you hate American manufacturing?
Anyone have a lighter for me to burn that straw man?
I mean, I got one right here, Papa. There you go.
You just talked about Zionism for an hour. How dare you hate puppies?
Yeah, because if we get rid of Zionism, who are we to sell weapons to? Obviously, they're the ones who brought all the wars, right? So why are you trying to get rid of our number one buyer, our number one test bed? We have the F-35. F-35I now is a new version. It's better than ours, and we've redeveloped some stuff for the F-35. We have the F-15 and F-16 variants Israel has. They've improved ours, and now we're selling those abroad with the new combat systems. It seems like it's coming out all wins to be backing this death cult. Why would we want to back groups that lose like Iran?
Why don't we go fund both? Why don't we go back to the old game plan that we learned from England and finance both sides and let them kill each other and profit on both sides? Why do we have to be involved?
I would agree with that. But they don't want to join the petrodollar, so we have to take their ass out.
That's moving the goalposts. So now we're talking about workers, and now we're talking about petrodollar.
Well, they're combined.
Well, the most American thing we can ever do is say their dollar is not real anyway, and we're being controlled by those international people that I'm talking about. And so now, why are you supporting the international globalist agenda by pretending that the dollar is real, where we all slave in those workers you're talking about? Those workers are working their ass off for an illusionary thing that's come crashing down their fucking head whenever the elite decide to move off this land into somewhere else. Why do you
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could pull out dollars and they're pretty real. I can smell them. I can taste them. What do you mean they're not real? It seems they're pretty real. And our dollar is backed by selling weapons.
I heard that in Iran it takes 4 boxes full of those papers that you're calling dollars to buy an apple.
Yeah, that's Iranian, whatever they use, not American dollars.
So are dollars not being manipulated by a globalist force that control the banks and system?
Are you what? Are you trying to argue that like it's the Rothschilds or something here? It's like a Jewish Zionist conspiracy to control the banks and get us in Iran. Is that what you're arguing right now, kind of thing? I'm just trying to understand.
You're saying that the world banking system is not intertwined. I didn't say anything about Rothschilds or Jews. I'm not. I don't know if you noticed. My argument. My argument hasn't been against Jews. I think I have the most pro-Jewish argument anyone's ever heard in a fucking year.
I mean, you don't think the people that are Zionists are Jewish, or at least token Jewish?
No, and for God, and I wish we had a few of them so I can embarrass the shit out of them.
Who's more Jewish than them, like the Ethiopians, or?
No, Jews, God-fearing Jews. What are you talking about? People who hold the covenant of the Torah. What do you mean? Who's more Jewish than a Zionist? You're telling me that Benjamin Malachowski is more Jew? You're saying Benjamin Malachowski is the biggest Jew on earth because he's the ruler?
Yeah, I mean, Netanyahu seems pretty Jewish. He seems like David reincarnated, whooped that ass of the Philistines, all that shit.
That's jabroni. Yeah, I think you've been colonized. I think in your bloodline through your Mexican bloodline, which I love the Mexican people, by the way, and I do, Gibbs, I'm with you. But inside your blood, right? Half of that's Mexican. You guys were colonized by the Catholic Bible, right?
Yeah, and the Catholic blood wants me to go crusade over there, so I feel it.
Yeah, but crusade for the right thing, man. You're not supposed to crusade. You're supposed to crusade for Christ, my brother. You're a Christian, correct?
Are you clicking coins over there?
Someone's.
I don't know. No. Yeah, I'm counting shekels. That's what we're doing.
Everyone else is muted.
I guess. I don't know what that sound is. My hands are right here. I'm confused.
I've been trying to figure out what the fuck that is. I'm like, it's like clickety click, clickety click.
It's probably because we have the wrong microphone. I'm like the first one. But here we go. How about that?
I thought your mic sounded weird. Okay, go ahead.
Doing this shit. I don't know what that sound was. It was the shit.
Gibbs, let me ask you a question. Did Christ fulfill the covenant?
He fulfilled. Yeah, he needed a new covenant. But yeah.
So if Christ fulfilled the covenant and opened it up to all the nations, right?
Well,
is not the ideology of Zionism turning the promised land of Israel into an like ethnic, territorial, secular state, reversing the entire message of the gospel?
No, because technically Christ didn't open up the covenant to that. It would be Peter when he had the vision from God with the fucking bullshit. Like, if we're gonna get real technical,
that's not Peter, dude. That's called Paul, and I agree with you.
No, Paul with his Peter with the centurion, and then Paul took it and ran. So that was the first thing where the Holy Ghost came down and
Peter was chosen. Peter was chosen. That's why Peter was the apostle.
Yeah, but to the answer to your question overall, though, I think that's really diving into which is more important part. But I would disagree because it says when Christ comes again, he's going to be the one taking over the temple and everything. No. Hold on. But it's not the matter you're describing it.
No, is Jesus' kingdom of this world or not of this world?
Well, it's not of this world now, but it will be when he comes again.
No, he's the temple, man. You don't understand your Christianity, brother.
Well, it depends if you think it's a literal or a metaphorical on that one. If you think he's literally going to come down and the kingdom of God on earth.
Jesus is the temple, and Jesus is the temple. You're a
Christian. I agree with that. Yeah, the bride is the church. But
Jesus returned back. Okay, all right. Jesus is the temple. It came down to fulfill the prophecy on the earth, correct? He was the temple. He went into the temple and said, "What?" He went into the temple, said, "What the fuck is going on here?" Right?
That also happened. Yes.
Okay. He flipped the table, passed his judgments. Right? Was accused. Right? And he was crucified. Right? A Christian. The Muslims there's Muslims going, "He wasn't fucking crucified." Haven't you read the Quran? Okay, he was crucified. Right? Then where did he go? Did he die or did he return to the Father?
Oh, he died. Then he came back.
So his soul died?
Well, no, his physical body died. I don't think his soul ever died.
But his soul never died. So his soul returned back to the Father as oneness, right? In God. So Jesus is God.
The soul descended to hell, and then he rose from hell and came back to the body, and then he ascended to the Father afterwards.
Jesus is God. Is Jesus God?
I mean, he's part of the Trinity. So yeah, he's like a God, but
so
it's part of the 3 in 1.
Zionist ideology has no declaration in any way that you're supposed to believe in God in any form. That's the side you're on.
Yeah, but Jesus also says, give the Caesar what is Caesar's. America is Caesar, and we sell weapons, so give us our fucking shit. Why would you want us to stop making goddamn money? Like, I just don't understand.
Who said Jesus said that? No, who said Jesus said that? Paul.
The Bible
did
says
Paul
that.
meet Jesus? No, Paul did. Did Paul meet Jesus? When did Paul hear Jesus say
Well,
that?
that's another debate. He spends 3 years in the desert with somebody. We don't know if he's actually Jesus or he's
Paul
just an
also
angel.
said. Paul also said you don't have to get circumcised. Jesus said don't change the law. Paul also said that you can eat whatever the hell you want because I said so. Paul also argued. Paul said to the Jews, I'm a Jew. To the Christians, I'm a Christian. Right?
And it wasn't Paul that said that. Jesus said that. Jesus said that in Luke 20.
No, he didn't. Paul said
20,
that.
20, 25.
Paul
Luke said that in 20, 25.
Paul said that.
And Matthew 22, 21, and Mark 12, 17. He said in all three of those.
No, Jesus never said to the Jew, I'm a Jew, and to the Christian. No, you're missing the point. Jesus said that's not what Jesus, I said to the Jews, I am the Jew, to the Christians, I'm a Christian. Paul said that. If Jesus said anything about he is everything to everyone, that's a later thing. You're talking about Matthew and Luke.
I'm talking about giving the Caesar or the Caesars. But yeah, as far as the philosophy, I mean, why? Like, let's just argue this from a worldly standpoint, right? Like, we're America. We sell weapons. That's what we do, right? And I would be okay with selling both sides, but one side's clearly on team anti-America. So, like, I maybe you can argue it's because we're pro-Israel, but I don't think that's
Zionism is anti-America. Zionism is Israel only, and the entire point of Zionism has to do with that nation state. That's the point. If you're so America, first of all, if you're a Christian, you're supposed to be Christian, then American second. If you're a Christian, then it has to be Christ first.
Yeah, but
so moving the goalposts down to nation states is not the debate subject here. We didn't say anything about we're not. I mean, I have no problem talking to you because I actually really enjoy engaging with you. But my point is, I never said that we should blow up the nation state of Israel for any reason. I'm saying
I never said you said that.
I have no problem with that for fulfillment of that covenant. I'm saying that let Israel be a place for the believers of that faith. Let Mecca be the place for that faith. And everyone else who doesn't, get the fuck out and go to somewhere else. I don't give a shit about F-37Is going to Israel. I don't have any positive thing to say about the nation state. Benjamin Netanyahu's name is Malachowski, and he named himself Netanyahu, which means God's gift. He named himself God's gift, and you're here telling me about America and Jesus Christ.
let me ask you a different question. You know, I'm a Texas
thought God's
rancher.
gift was the Messiah.
No, I'm a Texas rancher, right? Y'all just talked about South Pole cattle.
Well, let's hold that thought, Gibbs,
Sure.
because we still have three more to get through, and
Yeah,
then
go
when
through.
we're in, Duck, you better have a question that is on topic.
Yeah, I've got a good question, I think. And so I want to focus on your three important characteristics of Zionism. You said are ethnic, national, and religious. That's secular, ethnic, national, secular, not religious. So okay. So I just
secular from the perspective of only these people can vote, have full rights. That's a secular. You can't just enter. You have to be. That's secularity.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to offer this example that in the United States, we can look at something we all understand, like the university system. And maybe it's the case that there's happenings, it's just the case that some people accuse universities of being nationalist in the United States. And maybe it's true that the CIA, for whatever reason, is, they recruit aerospace engineers and information scientists out of universities. And we're like, okay, well, this seems pretty nationalist, and this is a product of, maybe Christian nationalism, or it's something that's happening in society. And so why is it the case when it's obviously also the case that people at universities are just getting an education? Can't we say that, well, Zionism isn't this sweeping topic like you're talking about? It is an important phenomenon in 2026, but Zionism for many decades sat by and abided by and enforced a democratic political process. It was largely pro-peace. And so I'm just curious where you can point me to that might make this more tangible or easy to understand, really.
Zionism was pro-peace?
Yeah, so I mean, how far back do you want to go back to?
You can start at the beginning. The entire thing was built off of terrorist actions.
That's not true. right? I mean, there was
King
there was,
David
a, there was a
Hotel,
ton of
the foundation of the Likud
Zionist
Party.
literature from the turn of the 20th. No, there's a ton of Zionist literature from the turn of the 20th century. Seems very much into the diaspora. It seems very much trying to, and in some ways successfully staying on the bleeding edge of like comparative politics and development. And so when we, again, if you mention, like, we're talking about taking territory, we're talking about ongoing conflicts and taking territory, you know, you can have that discussion if you want, but it's something that I would say we have to sort of wade through a little bit more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're saying. I also want to say, like, I have no problem like giving a critique based off of my knowledge of any, you know, we can talk about Iran, we can talk about the modern state of Afghanistan, we can pass judgments from anything. I like to think that I look at things through a Western perspective, being born and raised in the United States, right? But being a person like, you know, ancient history, so on, I understand religions pretty well. I understand spiritual stuff. So I'm not, I understand that nothing, you know, there are people who, I also understand the plight of the Jewish people. Like, look, it's one of the most documented things, the Jewish history. It's in our face, the Holocaust. Well, like, I went to school in America, et cetera, right? And I understand also a lot of the stuff. And I'm not, again, I've never.
You see how Zionism is not about that too, right? You see Zionism itself as a political philosophy. It also is an ideology. It has it has a fence line, you know.
Well, I can give you an example. When the problem is that there's a distinction, right? Either it is Torah first, or it's not. And so I would say it's not. So therefore, I would say that according to Moses, if Moses were to appear,
okay,
and land and get Jerusalem, Hebron, Tel Aviv, what would Moses say? Moses is stoning millions of people.
Yeah, the Moses himself is likely on some quest to bridge the metaphysical with political reality, right? This is a lot of the stories of the Torah, of how these whole, like, people like King David seem to stumble into this sort of wisdom. But again, you know, this shows that there is this dangerous side of magical thinking. There's a dangerous side also of telling lies about that political reality and placing them in the same place when that it isn't necessarily that way.
Let me give you like a point, like a point. Maybe it'll help explain like kind of like where I'm pointing at, like in the overall idea of Zionism. When after World War II, when the League of Nations, which later became the United Nations, said, okay, these people deserve their own homeland, and they said, okay, Palestine, right? British mandate Palestine, and they came. They were like let in. They were welcomed in by these Palestinian people because they're like they just happened to them, etc. Right?
Of course.
Funny part, but that's not even that's not disputed.
When
right?
it happens, yes, of course.
That's not even disputed. But here's the problem, though, is that when the British and it was the British that pushed the button to start moving everyone out to do the full takeover, all the Palestinian Christians, Muslims, and Jews were moved off of their lands. The European Jew was brought in and situated. So if it was anything to do with Judaism, there wouldn't have been Palestinian Jews kicked off their land with the Christians and the Muslims.
But do you compare this? But do you put this in the same camp as saying, like, well, Iraq, the entire Fertile Crescent and Iran failed to liberalize, you know, earlier in the century, right? You know, are these the same types of political problems, or is this?
I'm going super biblical
or something like.
No, I'm going super biblical. So my argument, this is my argument is super biblical. I'm going fully scriptural, book, chapter, verse argument. My personal opinion, I would say, oh, Omar, what do you think? I live in Miami Beach, man. Oh, so I don't hate like any specific types of people, right? But I do abhor ideologies that yield bad things, right? Now, there's a very big, we can look at something and say, okay, there's Germania, and then there's There was shit that happened to them. World War I, they broke apart. Their nation was being controlled. Hitler blamed the Jews in their banking system. They cut the Habara Agreement. They minted coins with the Star of David, et cetera, right? Oh, the Star of David, Star of Rembrandt, whatever. It's not my argument, right? They flipped the script, and then Hitler made it about the Jews, and he pointed at them simultaneously with his national ideology. And there was a time period where the ideology of Nazism infested the people of Germany, and we witnessed what we witnessed, right? And I'm saying that that's what happens when ideologies infiltrate groups of people. Now, I would put all of these ideologies in the category of dangerous, right? You see how the left looks at MAGA as an ideology, and the right looked at the LGBTQ as an ideology. All these ideologies, I say ideologies are weaponized, and we're watching.
But they don't have to be this way, right? Because
they are, though. That's the problem.
Wrap it up, Duck.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so one last thing, I did study political theory in college, so I'm guilty of that. But because I read Rousseau and Locke, so I'm suddenly both philosophical and ideological. But this is different than you go on Destiny's page or anyone's page, Andrew Wilson's page, and it's all lefties versus righties. These terms don't mean anything. They're not like the conversation we're having.
I agree fully.
And so, I mean, I still don't see how this isn't a very surface level, not a biblical critique of Zionism. I have to say that.
Star of David is the Star of David, right? There was no Star of David. The crazy people have that, right? So you create a symbol, right? You create an ideology based around an ethno-secular ideology of we are regardless. You have people who say, God promised us this land. I go, do you believe in God? They say no. So the argument's dead right there for that person, right? But it's not. I'm supposed to accept that the God you just said you don't believe in promised you something, right? There's something off in that, right? There's the ones that do believe in it, right? But you have a symbol, you have an ideology that has nothing, a faith is moved from a faith in the soul and the book of the religion that carried them so many thousands of years, the inspiration during the diaspora that kept them all online in the ghettos of this, which was their faith. And then they maneuver that faith into, I'm born this way, I'm perfect.
Hey, sorry, Sarah, I gotta run. Can I know this is against panel.
Run. Fucking with you, Duck.
Fuck out of here, Duck.
There's someone in back that is going to get booted for chatting, but they seem like they have a good opinion.
Okay, I don't care what you're trying to do right now. All right, Husky sent in.
No, he's a latecomer. I go before Husky.
You know what? You actually are right there. I'll give it. But he did send $10, but I will give it to you. You go ahead next.
Okay,
I know it's killing you.
$10. Put somebody else up so that I can teabag him again, though.
All right. Grip, you're not getting a thought on this one, but I'll put you here just to be teabag.
Teabag him instead.
Go ahead, Dusty. But can we ask your question? Because we need to move to the gauntlet so that you can teabag everyone on that. Question, Dusty.
Oh, me? Okay. First of all, I want to say, Omar, fantastic foliage in the back. You get a W there.
Thank you, brother.
Gibbs, your beard looks like shit, but shout out to the good reading recommendation. I see that in the background. Also, this looks like a complete shit bag of a panel. I'm looking forward to it. That's all I got.
That's fair. All right. And Husky, I wanted to give you a moment. You already sent in $10. Are we going to get a shoey again with this 10? Because you come in with a big 10 on the Buy Me a Coffee app. It says shoeys are good for the soul and completely negates all satanic energy. Go, Husky.
Yeah, so my argument is the secret to world peace is shoeys, and you should only drink out of shoes. And yeah, Shaman Omar, more like shoey Omar.
Enjoy.
Did you have any?
You're about to witness. You're about to bear witness.
It's so nasty.
Yeah, let's go with shoeyception.
This one is next level. It's not even out.
Shoeyception.
What?
There was nothing in there. Cap.
No, we've watched him do it straight out of it.
This is a thing.
That man's going to die of.
He did not. There was nothing in that book.
Athlete's foot of the
No,
record.
we've already.
He did a
You've
witch
been
cut,
out.
which was the
Listen,
ball
you
under.
have been out for. You have been out for like 2 weeks.
Out like that microphone.
You're popping bad, Sarah. Sarah,
You're
you're
crackling,
popping.
Sarah.
You're popping
Okay,
bad.
how about now?
Now
How
you're
about
good.
now?
Better, much
It was
better.
God trying to tell
Okay.
you not to sass me.
We have witnessed Husky and the Shoeys while you were out having your man period, Dusty. Husky for real does it. We've looked at the inside and out of those shoes and other things that he's drank from. It's very interesting. And mind you, if you send me $10, every time you send $10 and say Shoey or Husky, we will make him drink more, and he's happy to do so. Don't keep a good man down. All right.
What is
I
in the
think everybody.
beer? What kind of
If you're
beverage?
lucky, you might get a
Beer.
traffic
Hold on, I
cone.
got more questions
Beer.
about beer. Really?
Beer. Yes.
All right.
Okay. While we're maneuvering, I am setting off the gauntlet now. So if you already know where you're going, please feel free to do so. In the midst of that, I'm sure the mods will drop the link in chat, but some super chats have come in. Shout out to Texas Bully Mom, says two left on the goal. Yes, thank you very much. You guys did kind of haphazardly complete the goal. Mike over on Powder Dusty says, win flow, happy to see you always. No homo shit. Ha 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 ha. JK. Shout out for the tea bags. And when you guys get over to the gauntlet side, there is a tea bag emoji. Mike also sent in 50 to the Powder Dusty, says, let's go. People, don't forget to donate. Donate some freaking money. Donate some
Yeah.
freaking money. Like and
Thank-
subscribe. Go ahead. Yeah, it's yours.
Gibbs got me so insecure over here with all his bling. I put on my pinky ring and my bracelet, and I'm spinning a bar to try to fucking level
Damn.
up here.
Y'all crack me up. Did you want to say anything to Mike?
No. Oh, thank you, Mike. I already gave Mike W's.
Oh, okay. On your end. All right. Well, I just want to say he sent you 50. You might want to say something a little extra, whatever. If you
If
don't,
you could
it's fine.
upload the whale clip for
I'll
me.
tell you,
I
Mike,
think
I
that
would
was
tell
the
you
whale
something extra, and I would say much more thank yous on that
Slurp,
behalf.
slurp, slurp.
Well, it's a good subject.
Shout out to Tom Carpenter, comes in with another goal hit over here with the Big 10, and then he follows up with another 20. What is it with the egg, the chicken and the egg thing?
He's sad that his egg hatched.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And then also Toasty Man Bad says with the big 5, your souls are mine. L chat. Yes, Toasty will kick all of your asses along with Guns. Uncle Guns in the chat. We'll go into full pirate mode and put the chat on slow mode if you keep fucking around and finding out. But on that note, I will go ahead and open the panel into full gauntlet mode while I'm getting us maneuvered over to the gauntlet. In the meantime, backstage, I currently have Judge 10th Man, Miss Cat, the Indian Jesus, and Joseph all back there waiting for you to boot somebody else the fuck out of here. All right.
What
The
a
only way to
catastrophe panel.
the only way to get any of them up on screen is if somebody on screen gets booted off. Now, you cannot boot Mr. Omar. He is our special feature of the night, and we're not sending him anywhere. All right, I'm going to open up the floor. Whoever except to heaven. Whoever wants to start kicking in while I maneuver us to the gauntlet, go for it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Great. Okay. Sorry about that earlier.
How's that camera going, bud?
I don't own a camera. I don't want one, and I don't own one.
Fair enough.
Look, if
camera
the
not
rest
there?
of
Yes,
the
God's
have
favorite amp, we
cameras,
can hear you.
He can't carry it. It's 51 times his weight.
What?
I'm just saying, look around the panel. If you don't want a camera on this panel, you're a fucked up dude.
Why? Why do you need to see me?
Because I'm already so horny for your voice, I can't wait to find out what's actually under the
It's
hood.
really hard to jerk off your avatar.
Just get an ant farm. Just get an ant farm. You'll be just as sufficient. All right. Whoever wants to.
Topic. Sorry.
It's okay. It's gauntlet mode. While I'm trying to, my shit's like running slow, so I can't seem to get the redirect set up right now. But yeah,
Mine
go ahead.
too. Mine's going trash. It started when you started.
That's weird. All of mine is just like everything's slow mode right now.
I do see some glitchiness from you guys.
Mhm.
Mine's
Yeah.
not glitchy.
Exactly. Well, you try running a whole fucking host of everything over here and see how it feels. Maybe I need to get like 3 laptops and just run everything that way.
You'd have connectivity issues.
Yes, stop.
This
just
shit can be
saying.
any mo- Rick, what do you think is the most interesting looking person on the panel? Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing.
But I do have
Have
something.
the chat vote on that one.
So Omar, I did want to go down this rabbit hole of the land grab versus the whole spiritual degradation argument, because I do agree with you that some people do focus on that. But if these people who are focused, much like Gibbs, on the idea of secular goals, i.e., sales of mass weapons, then what's the what would be the goal of these secular Zionists? Because that's what they really secular Zionists. If not other than just simply materialism.
So we have a chessboard, right? There's pawns, and then there's the king, and then the knight, and so on. Before the first, we talked about this last time. I think that's probably why it's like in the field. Before the first crusade, Pope Urban declared a holy war and a march to the Holy Land, Jerusalem. Didn't really pick up as much as he thought until he got a divination from God, and God told him to tell everybody that not only are you doing good, but everything that you can take on the way there and back is yours, because God wants to reward you for it. And everyone signed up. So both can be true at the same time. Someone like Gibbs, Gibbs, he may have the Mexican blood he's talking about, but inside this fucking guy is definitely some Viking stuff. All right. Gibbs,
it's Spanish. It's the conquistadors, bro. That's what we got going on over here.
And before we run down that rabbit hole, shout out to Brick. I apologize. I forgot to do the cash apps. Shout out to Brick for sending in the big tens to help with the goal. Thank you so kindly. And also Tom Carpenter sends in the big 50 and says, have fun. I'm not sure how this is going to go tonight, but I think Dusty called it that it's going to be probably a wild one. If you're watching over the Raging Tomato on YouTube, we're going to go ahead and shut that end off now, and we're going to merge you over. I've set up the raid so you can either catch the raid.
Again, Sarah.
Motherfucker. Am I still popping now?
We're under Zionist attack.
Probably. If you are watching over on the Raging Tomato, you should either catch the raid over to the Gauntlet, or I've dropped the link in the chat. You can catch it that way. Otherwise, I'm shutting the Raging Tomato side off now. The Gauntlet is